All right, welcome everybody to the live recording.
Hello.
Here we are. Hello, everybody.
The stream is live.
The stream is live.
We are people.
We are alive.
Engaging faces. Engaging the A Realm Reborn footage I own and possess. Which is not much anymore. It's all been archived. It's long ago.
And also, we didn't record as much of it because we didn't know how specific we were getting with our videos.
We didn't know. We didn't know.
We
back
weren't
then.
streaming yet. Don't make that mistake. Well, I guess you're not making that mistake, Amanda, because you've already streamed, like
I'm
all of
documenting
Realm Reborn.
everything.
Not making that mistake at all. But yeah, thanks for joining us. These are how these usually kick off. We don't have a countdown or anything like that. We just kind of flip it live, say hi to everybody, and then after a few minutes, we get into the show.
Yeah, let people.
I mean, we could count down like on our fingers.
That's
if we
true.
wanted to.
Oh, we could do that. That'd be fun to try and sync up
the production.
Oh yeah,
the
that would
lag
be really hard. It's gonna be all over
of internet.
It's like 5, 5, 5, 3, 3, 3.
Our countdown last week with Jesse was him telling us about the bag of green beans he ate while waiting for us to go live for our Endwalker finale. That was
Jesse can weave a tale about anything. It's
yes, he can. It's
anything.
It's
behind the scene green beans.
There you
behind
go.
the beans.
Behind the beans.
With Jesse
Behind
Cox.
the
Yeah, he
First in your farts, always in your hearts, right? Yeah.
It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
there it
You
is.
said that. I didn't.
I think
so. We're in for a good show today. I can already tell.
Yeah. So the production question.
Yeah.
I swang by your stream and I saw you starting the Dravanian 4 lands, correct? So have you played since then?
Maybe.
Sounds right about.
It was last Tuesday I played, so if it was then, yes, I took last Thursday off because I've been upping the production value of my stream. This is actually the first time I'm using an actual camera, as you can see the depth of field.
It's quite
blurry.
nice.
We're fancy. Yeah. So I spent a good portion of last week like crying, trying to set up streaming.
Been there.
Yeah.
Completely overwhelmed, but here we are. So I don't remember exactly if we were at the Dravanian part. It's probably because I was crying about tech problems.
Yes, doing your own production work is exhausting.
Yeah.
So we'll keep it to generally the beginning of Heavenward.
When we get there.
We got an outline today. We're going to try and keep it as spoiler free for as long as possible, and then we'll get into some at least
game thoughts.
Music spoilers.
Yeah.
There we go.
I don't think I can spoil songs that you performed on to you. I don't think that's possible.
I got spoiled for something that wasn't Final Fantasy related. That was like I don't even remember what it was now. It was a super obvious Star Wars spoiler that I didn't know that like everyone knows, and I didn't realize it. Something, yes, that was exactly what it is.
Okay, all right.
It was along that line. So I'm like, spoilers, and everyone in the room looked at me like, you have lived under a rock your entire life. What's going on? So
I have a friend from
you could spoil something, but we'll be careful.
I have a friend from Hearthstone who only saw episode 3 and assumed Anakin was Luke Skywalker until the very end of the movie when he becomes Darth Vader, and she was very confused.
Okay.
She's like, wait.
That's what it was. That's a spoiler. Yeah. So
there you go.
That's where I am with Star Wars. It's okay. Now I know.
I can see it happening.
Yep. And when I learned this, I was like, what? How does this even happen? She's like, I thought a guy was cute. I went to Star Wars with him. Didn't know anything that was going on. I was like, okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Now I see how that happened. That's how I've seen quite a few movies that way.
To be fair, I do know a slight bit more about Star Trek than I did Star Wars. I feel like people are often one camp or the other.
Mm.
And I came to Star Trek Next Generation later in my life, but I loved it. So I could potentially answer more questions about TNG than Star Wars.
Okay.
At least I know one of them.
I think that'll serve you well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's according to Kyle. Kyle's also, I think you're more of a Trek fan than a Wars fan.
Yeah, I'd say in the mass.
I'm the Star Wars guy here.
Well,
Got a
even each
couple
other out,
helmets
you know,
behind
it
me.
works out.
Yeah.
It does work
Can't
out.
quite reach.
You guys should be balanced that way. Yeah.
Can't quite reach any of the lightsabers in this room, but there's a few.
Love it.
Well, Brad, well, let's get into the show then. Y'all ready? Anyone
Yes.
need? Everyone's got waters and stuff, right?
Yep, hydrated.
I love the water.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, all right then. Kyle, if you want to throw up the old loop footage,
The loop is
Oh.
here.
I'll cue a little intro music and we'll get going. And it would help if I could see your feed. Wonderful. Let's go. We're calling this the MS Q&A now. New rebranding when we have these types of
Cute.
interviews.
That's MS cute.
Oh, well played. All right. The podcast proper records live in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the MSQ&A, the podcast where we revisit our favorite narratives in gaming, and today got quite the musical focus on that. I'm Garrett Weinzerl, joined as always by Kyle Ferguson.
Hello.
And today we're talking all about the music of Final Fantasy XIV with our guest Amanda Achen. Amanda, welcome to the show.
You said the proper German pronunciation for my last name. I'm impressed. That's
I
great.
meant to double check with you before we went live, and I'm a bad host
No.
because I didn't. But
No, you're good.
I have
just-
said your name many times on our streams, and no one's corrected
No
me,
one
which
stopped
I
us.
just assume means I'm right because people.
Do you have a lot of European viewers in your stream because they would not correct you if they heard that? It's the
I
correct way to pronounce it.
Probably on our day streams. I bet not on our Thursday
Yeah.
night streams because that would be like 4 a.m. for the poor Europeans. But
Either
yeah,
way, I had a voice teacher who was offended that I was pronouncing my name as Achen. She really insisted that I go by Achen. So I'm, it's kind of one of those names that can go either way. So I'm impressed you pronounced it that way. Good job.
but wait, if you pronounce it Aiken, I want to pronounce it that way.
Go ahead, you can do it again. redo.
Here with our guest today, Amanda Aiken.
There you go.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
So to kind of frame this for folks that are, maybe not as familiar with all three people who are here's journey through Final Fantasy XIV. At the time of recording this, Kyle and I recently completed our journey, at least up through the end of Endwalker 6.0. It's been like a 2.5-year journey for us. But as for today's discussion and spoilers, in case you are not caught up on Final Fantasy XIV and you're worried, don't be. We're going to be talking about the music of Final Fantasy XIV all the way up through Endwalker, but we're going to save that discussion for the end of the show, and we're going to kind of ramp up to it. So we're going to have a spoiler-free discussion, and we'll give you plenty of warning when we're going to start talking about all of the ways songs that feature Amanda will probably make you cry in Endwalker.
And I'll
We'll
go,
give you-
la 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 la.
Yeah, and we'll also be pretty heavily avoiding any sort of very specific
course.
narrative spoilers.
Of course. Yes,
I
naturally.
know. Yeah. I'm being silly.
Yeah, and that's because, Amanda, you started streaming your first playthrough of Final Fantasy XIV fairly recently, I think late last year, right?
Yeah, in August, after I did the first fan fest in Vegas, I just saw how amazing the community is, and I wanted to be more plugged in. And between Vegas and London Fan Fest, I was actually traveling for 3 months in Europe. That was a crazy trip. I was in a different city every week and a different country every other week. And that's when I started streaming. So it was a
Whoa.
remote streaming experience. Yeah,
Jeez.
it was totally trial by fire. Dealing with different Wi-Fi, which by the way, like kind of by and large, Wi-Fi in Europe is generally better than Wi-Fi in America.
Oh.
So I was pretty good, kind of no matter where I went. But yeah, I had a mobile streaming setup. I brought my LED floodlight, totally essential, looks good anywhere I put it. I had a USB mic, and I I have Apple products, which is absolutely insane. I have been playing Final Fantasy XIV on a Mac, which is crazy.
goodness.
But I had my MacBook, and then I used my phone as my camera, and like that was all I needed. Pretty good, pretty solid. As you can see now, I just got a fancy camera, and I feel really bougie and professional. I wanted that blurry background. Now I have it. I'm like, yes, I've made it. I am a streamer. But yeah, I started back in August while I was traveling, and since I've been back in LA after London, that was kind of in October. Then I've been streaming here, and I've got my setup going, as you can see it, and I stream about twice a week. And I kind of move very slow because I talk to chat a lot. I think I've been slowly progressing through MSQs, but yeah, it's been about 7 months now.
Okay, well, rad. I mean, listen, I think you'll be in good company here because they're used to how fast we go through,
which is slow.
The game, which is extremely slow.
You're in good company.
It's extremely slow. Yeah,
I just want to be like the Grinding Gears guys on their timeline.
Oh, so that sounds wild.
Let's clip that quote and put it on the website, Kyle. just. So Adeline says,
how? Okay, so you do FanFest, which we were there for. We were at that particular FanFest in Vegas.
Yes.
And that was the first exposure you had to just the audience losing it. That must have been invigorating.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I mean, you guys saw when I had the moment with the microphone in my hand too, and I was interacting with the crowd and everyone was screaming my name. That was the moment I'm like, I've got to stream.
That's awesome. What a cool way to like break out of that behind the scenes. I mean, also coming out of the lockdowns, COVID, getting to share that with everybody. But getting to be with that crowd that is running wild, cosplaying, playing mini games over here, going here, trying the game, and everyone goes, hold up, we're doing a piano recital. And everyone's like, absolutely, excuse me. And they just like sit down, complete respect, dead silence. Yes, absolutely, please play the music.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was so wild. It was so much fun. And that was a really great crowd too. They were so enthusiastic. Which I feel like is kind of it. When I've performed in different countries throughout the world, I feel like the Americans are really the most bombastic, which is fun because coming from a classical background, everyone sits there and is very proper and they do their little golf clap, and meanwhile, Final Fantasy people are like losing their shit. So on the stage, that feels really good.
That was something we when we came back from FanFest, because it was the first one we'd ever been to, and previously we had a lot of personal experiences going to other video game themed conferences, but never a Final Fantasy one. And what really stuck out to us from FanFest was how completely ready, willing, and on board everyone in the audience was to drastically change the tone of whatever was currently being presented, because it was, I think it was day one. The second to last event was the cosplay contest or walk. I don't think it's actually a contest, but the cosplay walk, which got memey and ridiculous and just hilarious towards the end. There were some really, really fun out there costumes that played to the crowd and everyone was just laughing. It was a very high energy room. And immediately following that, the piano concert starts. And I was just like, wow, this room turned on a dime. This became just a giant meme fest. It was like if the most upvoted thing on Reddit had just become a conference, and now suddenly it's the classiest thing I've ever experienced at a gaming conference.
This community has range, you guys. Good for you.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite the experience. To let you know how much we saw, Kyle and I started running when the piano concert started because we'd barely started Endwalker.
They were showing video in the background,
showing game footage.
But we did get to see several of your songs, including the absolute tongue twister one.
Oh my God!
So I want to ask you about that later.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, we got to see that during the piano performance, and then we did the second day. We're like, we're not missing the primals. Whatever happens, it's out of context.
Bring it on.
Yeah, we'll risk it, and I'm so glad we did, because that was completely incredible. But let's take it back for folks that may not be familiar. What's your background? How did you become a professional singer and end up working on games like Final Fantasy XIV?
I'm an only child. and I always liked being the center of attention. So I think that's how I became a performer.
Welcome to streaming. Yeah, I think we're all a little guilty of that.
Yeah. Putting on a show, listen, just like entertain my parents.
Yeah.
I studied music in university. I was gonna maybe study musical theater, and I did this competition where I had to sing a classical song in French. It was a very sensual French song that was way above my head at the time, like senior in high school. But something about it really resonated with me, and I thought, that's it. I'm going to study classical music. And I didn't know how to read music. I didn't have any formal training, really. I just kind of had a good ear and a good voice. And so then I was a music major, and it was difficult. I almost dropped out a few times. Music theory, fucking not my thing. I kind of want to go back and study now that I'm a bit older and I have more experience. I think it would come easier to me because at that age, I was just completely overwhelmed. But yeah, I was a music major. I graduated. I didn't actually go get my master's, whereas a lot of classical singers did. It's kind of expected in that field to just go through higher education as much as you can. A lot of people end up teaching. I think that's why. But I thought, no, I want to take a break from school. I just want to start performing. And I grew up in Southern California, so I was in Los Angeles. Well, I moved to Los Angeles after I graduated. And I just kind of started trying to do gigs. Classical things when I could get it, some opera, some oratorio. And oratorio is stage work where concert orchestra behind me, choir, and a soloist out in front. So I really kind of leaned more that direction, mostly because I felt that to be successful in opera, you really had to sell your soul to the devil of opera, and you couldn't really do any other genres because opera is so fucking hard that that's just what you got to do 100% of the time. And I liked being versatile. I also knew that I would get bored if I was only doing one genre, one style of music. So it opened my eyes to jazz, and my partner at the time was a classical musician, is a classical musician and a jazz musician. And I started going to some jam sessions with him for jazz. We started a band. And so then I kind of started professionally dipping my toes into jazz as well. And I had done a little bit of that when I was younger, but that aspect felt really authentic and really rewarding because improvisation is a huge element of jazz, and that's something that you don't really do as a classical musician unless you are singing Baroque music, early music like Bach and so on. There was a lot of improvisation in that time, and then as styles started changing, composers started getting really developed and intense, kind of think of like Beethoven style. The music got so developed where people didn't improvise anymore. So a lot of classically trained musicians just stopped using that skill of improvisation. So there's this interesting bookend of early music and jazz, improvisation, and like all of this area in between that doesn't improvise. And so I kind of leaned more towards early music and jazz. And a project that I really want to do at some point in my life is an album of jazz arrangements of early music songs because they just go together.
Sweet.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking a lot about what I know. My wife is an opera singer, so I favorite language to sing. What do you like best?
German, actually.
Yeah.
Which is probably also why I didn't study opera, because you got to be really good at Italian, and I just never felt super comfortable with Italian.
So, well, congratulations, because yes, opera can be extremely restrictive in that way. So the fact that you forged your own road and found a way to have this creative outlet as well as explore all these other things without getting stuck in kind of the studiumness of it, like, congratulations, that's awesome.
I mean, no offense to any opera singers out there, and definitely not your wife.
No, but it was your passion. Like that, you followed your
Yeah.
passion for it.
Yeah. And I have so much respect for people who really dedicate their life to learning that art because it is so specific and so challenging, and like hands down to that. And I recognized that that wasn't exactly where I felt the most fulfilled. And it took me a while to kind of come to terms with that and realize it's okay. I don't have to go down this road that was kind of visually laid out for me when I studied at school. I can carve my own path. Yes, that's difficult and challenging because it's confusing, and I'm not going to the young artist programs. I'm not auditioning for all of these things. I'm really kind of using a machete to cut through this forest of questions to try to cut through. And that's when, to circle back to your initial question, like how I met Soken, there was a Eorzean symphony that came through in 2018 to LA. And a company that I had worked with as a soloist doing classical stuff like Mozart's Requiem, Carmina Burana, Poulenc, kind of oratorio work. That conductor hired the choir and also was contracting the soloists. So he hired me as the soloist, and that's how I met Soken. And the songs that I sang were Heavenward, which is crazy because it's got 3 high Cs. It's like so wild. And a Crystal Towers theme, which I didn't realize was Crystal Towers until a few weeks ago when some of my mods did some research. That was kind of cool. There were no words to it. It was just some oohs and ahs. And they were like, is this the song? Oh my God, it's Crystal Towers. Now I have context. That's cool. Yeah.
That's got to be cool along the way, kind of filling in those. I'm not even sure if you call them blanks if you don't know they're blanks at the time, but like filling it in as you go along.
It's always interesting too when you're.
Who else has that experience?
And when you're explaining what you do to somebody, and if people will be like, "Wait, people read radio advertisements? Oh my goodness! Oh, someone actually did do that. That's a human being." And same thing with the oohs and ahs of a background. A lot of people don't fathom that someone had to sit there working, supporting their breath, and oohing with all their might.
Ooh, so much professional oohing, man. A lot of that.
So they need a singer, and so they brought you in, and then like what happened then?
I guess I did a good job. Yeah, I really put my all into it. I memorized the music, I interpreted it. I came out, and I don't know if anyone here was at that concert in LA in 2018, but the crowd was so excited when I walked out and sang these songs, and I just felt this intense like welcome and love and support. And I sang my songs, and you know, I had this thought backstage. There were 2 performances, I think there were 2 in the same day. And I thought, oh my gosh, you know, I really love working with composers. This music is really good. I'm just gonna shoot my shot and give him my business card. And I actually had business cards, and I haven't had business cards since. And little did I know that business cards are a very integral aspect of Japanese business culture. So while I was thinking, oh, I really want to give him my business card, he apparently, I learned later, was having the same thought. He was like, oh, I really like her as a singer. I need to give her my business card. So we had a business card exchange moment backstage. And then like less than a year later, he reached out and said, hey, are you interested in recording this theme? And that was Tomorrow and Tomorrow. And then the rest is history, I guess.
That's awesome. And it seemed like, I want to say it seems so natural knowing all of the work that went up to that moment that you just explained, but it's nice that in that moment it seemed like it gelled.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. You know, I think the good things that come in life are like equal parts preparation and luck. You know, I prepared, I really brought my A game, and I was in the right place at the right time. And that's when really awesome things happen. So you never know when you're going to be in the right place at the right time. It could be any moment you walk out your house. So, you know, with that idea, you kind of want to be prepared whenever you're doing any work that is important to you. like put your heart into it. I think that's kind of the moral of the story there.
I hear that. We for obvious reasons, Kyle and I have been very introspective lately. I'm thinking about like how long we've been doing what we're doing. And we're like, well, why did this work?
Mm-hmm.
And we keep coming back to a similar thing. It's like, I think we started at the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Had enough stuff under our belt.
what a fascinating audience to walk out to, the Final Fantasy audience. They are tuned and experienced with a wide variety of music, from jazz as well to classical. Was that your first concert doing anything related to video games?
Yes, as a soloist, I had done other kind of video game and film score concerts in the choir before. I've performed with John Williams on the Hollywood Bowl stage.
Oh, nice.
Which is incredible, especially coming back to Star Wars now, like the Imperial Death March, and everyone's got a lightsaber in their hand and they're all conducting with it, and you're looking out into the Hollywood Bowl audience, you know, and everyone's got a lightsaber. But again, it was never from the perspective of being a soloist. And it was so exhilarating, and I wanted to be more a part of that. And little did I know that I was going to get to be. And I'm grateful. And now I really want to dive more into the video game industry in general. This isn't something we've talked about, and it's kind of new-ish, but I've recently taken a voice acting course for video games with Sean Mendham, who is Scratch in Baldur's Gate 3. He is an incredible teacher. I have been bragging about him everywhere. Highly recommend his course. Learned so much. And I really want to get more involved, not just in the singing side, but in the voice acting side. So I'm starting to dig my toes in there. My dad was actually a voice actor. He did more commercial work when I was young, and then he stopped. But I grew up with him telling me stories and doing character voices. And I think that was really impactful to me when I was a child, and really kind of encouraged me to play and perform and use my voice in interesting ways. So it would be cool now if I do start doing voice acting. It would feel like a very full circle.
How, like, let's say you have to communicate an emotion. How does that feel different between singing and voice acting?
Well, that's a great question. With singing, I think in terms of colors, shapes, I mean, how we use our voice, we're using our articulators, our teeth, our tongue, our lips, our mouth, everything up here, to form different sounds and different shapes. And if I'm going for something that is warm and comforting and resonant, I might really make more space in my mouth and have like a taller vowel and a really high soft palate. I might use specific vowel shapes to bring out different timbres in my voice that I think kind of sonically describe an emotion. I will certainly just feel the emotion itself. That's like kind of the obvious thing. And I think when it comes to voice acting, maybe I need to be slightly more specific with my imagination and with really visualizing the world that I'm in. Singing and music can be kind of abstracted concepts that hit because the music is speaking as well as the voice. But with voice acting, generally there's no music there and it's quicker. Singing is stretched out and longer, and voice acting is speaking. So I think getting a lot more specific with what I'm visualizing in the world that I'm inhabiting will then allow the listener to be immersed in that world just as well. And from this voice class, something I've learned is, you really want to move your body. You don't want to be just kind of standing there in front of the microphone. But if I'm moving through a cave, like I'm going to be like looking around and maybe reaching out. And just that little bit of movement is going to affect how my voice is coming out. Whereas if I'm in a cave right now, maybe I'm seeing it, but it's subtle. You could probably hear a difference in the voice. I'm not up against a really great mic right now, but that's a long way of saying, I think, more specification with voice acting. However, I'm going to be using those tricks now going forward when I record in the future and see if that gives me just a little edge on the emotion when I sing.
That was an awesome comparison. So to that note, when you receive a song, is there director notes with it? How much are you kind of getting in the margins and being like, oh, I think this is this kind of interpretation, or how I'm going to portray this line?
Different depending on the session. If there's a director in the room there, or a composer in the room there, or a music director in the room, they might have a lot of ideas. I recorded an Italian aria recently for a film. I actually wrote the Italian lyrics, which was fun. I used Google Translate, and then I ran it by my Italian friend to make sure the tenses and everything were proper. But yeah, I wrote a fake Italian aria. At that session, there was a music director in the vocal booth who was listening to me sing, and he had the music in front of him, and he was giving me specific notes more on just the vocal technique. I've been in situations where directors might give me, okay, do that one, like just kind of vague emotions, like more pulled back, more restrained, more comforting, more motherly. And with Soken specifically, he will give me a handful of descriptors, generally, like, okay, I want this to be soft and comforting. I keep going back to that because that's kind of what the direction was for flow. So he didn't, for that specifically, he didn't give me context. And I've spoken about this in interviews before, but I didn't really necessarily need the context because there was so much in the lyrics and in the emotion of the music itself that I got it. As much as I now know about Heidelin and the spoilers that I have kind of gleaned myself and doing my own research, I was like, oh, I fucking nailed that. That was exactly what I was imagining in my head. So it just speaks volumes without the specific context sometimes.
That's amazing.
I think we and everyone in chat can mirror that exact feeling after everything we just all of your work we got to just experience in Endwalker, because that was definitely multiple times we were just kind of like, oh, this is why everyone was so excited for us to get to this track.
I'm excited too. Maybe I'll do your timeline and it will be like 2 years from now, but
I look forward to bringing you back on and being able to talk to you about Endwalker.
I mean, with doing any sort of recording, there's going to be eventual desensitization of just hearing yourself, because most people are like, oh my God, my own voice. But have you always been pretty cool hearing yourself, or is it something you had to get accustomed to?
Well, I had to get accustomed to it. Yeah. I think in the same way that I had to get accustomed to seeing myself on the screen a lot. When you first do that, you're like, whoa, I really don't know how to look at myself. This is awkward. And then you just kind of do it more and you get over it, and then it becomes natural. So that was my how I feel generally with vocal recordings. And honestly, there are some times when there's recordings of me that like scratch tracks or something that I just don't listen to it, and that's okay. However, you glean so much information when you watch things back. I mean, I'm sure you guys do too. You'll be like, oh, okay, that worked really well, or I could have done that differently or better. So obviously 100%. It's a really useful tool to listen back to yourself. But back to the question you asked, so far the only thing that I have heard is every time I start the game when I hear myself. No big deal. Just every time I start it, there I am.
For like, so when we started, I purchased right before Endwalker came out, so I had the collection up through Shadowbringers. So every time I logged in, it was a Shadowbringers screen, and then we were streaming, and one day someone gifted me an Endwalker code, and I was like, oh, thank you so much. and suddenly it swapped to Endwalker. And for over a year now, for the longest time, I thought it was just Kyle and I both in unison thought it was Tales of Love was what was being shouted at us.
No.
It's gonna be a love story, everybody. Nope. Oh,
it's become a bit of a joke in our community of, yep, time for
Like,
Tales of Love.
It's gonna be so wonderful and heartwarming and not emotional and so easy.
everyone's gonna have a great time. It's gonna be perfect. That is wild.
I think some folks in chat right now are realizing that is in fact not what it says. Yeah.
Realizing? Yeah, nope. Loss, my friends. Tales of loss.
So not only did you have the distance perhaps where you were sending these files, but also the COVID time period. Were you recording those at home? Did you go to a studio somewhere else? How did you get that in their hands?
Yes, dude. Okay, so the first recording I did was right before COVID, the Tomorrow and Tomorrow. That that I did in a studio with my friend. He's wonderful. Film score composer in my band. He's just like, I go to him and we get it done. Then when COVID happened, I recorded myself. I had to learn how to use Logic, be a studio engineer, do all my own recording, because that was the only option during COVID. And I was doing that for some other smaller projects, but then they asked me to do the piano arrangement. I don't remember what that was called, but What Angel Wakes Me was on there, Return to Oblivion was on there, Tomorrow and Tomorrow was on there. You guys, those songs are all like 7 minutes long and really complicated. And that was my intro into being my own engineer.
Oh no.
Jeez.
Intense. It was so crazy. It was so stressful, but I learned a lot, and I quickly figured out how to like comp correctly, and I figured out an approach for myself when I record, which is pretty much I'll spend the first day learning the song, usually learning the song as I'm recording it. So I'll go bit by bit. I'll go phrase by phrase, you know. I'll like look over the entire piece of music, but I kind of learn it as I record it. And then once I get an understanding, I get it in my voice, then the next day I'll go and record it. And it kind of has sunk in a little bit better at that point. And so then I take off the pressure of doing the recording all in one session. I learned that doing those.
I'm really glad to hear that. I'm having to learn a guitar piece for a collaboration that folks in our chat room, if they think about it for a little bit, they'll probably be able to put two and two together and figure out what it's for. But just got it like the other day, and I'm like, oh, I haven't had to not suck at guitar in a while. So, and I went about it a very similar way. I was just like, all right, I'm going to put this on loop and I'm going to keep going through it over and over again. And I'm not going to worry about trying to actually record this for a few days until I kind of can, this is just muscle memory.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, that's the part of the preparation. You want to get it so that it's muscle memory, so that you're not actually in the process of remembering how the song goes or reading the music when you're recording, because it's going to sound like you're reading the music or remembering how the song goes in that recording. So practicing looping, being repetitive, whatever you need to do for however many days, so that by the time you're ready to record, it's actually you interpreting. That's how you make art.
Yeah. That's great to hear. Thanks for sharing. I wasn't expecting to get advice I'm going to use, because I'm like, I don't sing, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, cool.
So I'm kind of curious to like the next step from obviously your first time working with Soken and the rest of the crew to like what was the onboarding like for? I guess you said it was Tomorrow and Tomorrow was the first thing you worked on. Like. You just one day you woke up to an email and they're like, we want you for this thing. And how much of it is direct? How much of it is okay? That's awesome. It's that simple.
Yeah, and it was like a week turnaround. They're like, all right, great. We need this in a week.
That's awesome. I mean, maybe not the turnaround, but it's fantastic.
Most industries like this, film, TV, commercial, game, it's all like, we need this yesterday. So I'm kind of used to that. The interesting part was I think I had just come back from a festival in Costa Rica. So they messaged me while I was in the airport going to Costa Rica, like in the middle of nowhere, and I said, well, I could try to find a studio in Costa Rica, but I don't know. And they said, okay, just do it when you come back. So I had returned, managed to not lose my voice in the jungle of Costa Rica. And I had this weird ass rehearsal. I did this project for Neil Gaiman in 2018 that was for the Good Omens series, where I was playing a satanic nun, a singing satanic nun.
Like
range, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, range.
Satanic nun.
There you
We
go.
got range. And I did this rehearsal for a few hours, and I was singing over the music at the rehearsal, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's lovely. What is that?" And I was like, "Just some video game thing." And then I went to my friend's studio in Santa Monica, and we recorded it. And that's how that happened. Sometimes it's not the ideal circumstances. You know, the ideal circumstance to me would be not having just come back from a festival for a week and not having just done a rehearsal early in the morning, but you make it work, and that's the one that was used in the game. So there we go.
I don't know what it is about the universe, but it feels like those types of opportunities only come like when you're already in it with something else, like you're mid-travel or
Murphy's Law.
Yeah, your studio equipment's on fire. That's when the opportunity comes. It's never when you have a quiet moment.
That's me right now. So one of my interfaces, well, my only interface at the moment broke, and I'm like trying to finish this recording project right now. And then I bought this other interface, and because I have a Mac, it wasn't the one for the Mac, and it took me 2 weeks to realize that. So I have to return that and get another one. So like here I am, 3 weeks not being able to record in my studio because my interface is broken. So that's just how it goes. And I'm not a techie person. I don't know how I'm streaming. It's so crazy. I'm the least techie. I've become more techie, but it's wild.
Well, your streams, like, they look great. Like, it seems like you put a lot of time and effort into it. So I don't know. Maybe it seems like you picked up a few tricks having to become your own recording studio over COVID or something, because it looks solid.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Appreciate it.
So, like, just like, while we're still talking about just like the process of working with Square and with Soken, I mean, what like just generally, what is it like working with Soken? I mean, you both, I still feel like, I know Kyle and I have been doing this for a little while. We've been pretty steeped in Final Fantasy for a couple of years now, but I still feel like an outsider. And when we were even realizing that there was just a whole subsection of the fandom that like their favorite thing about this entire game is the music, you and Soken came up so much. Like before we even knew how to pronounce Soken, I think the first time I ever said his name, I said Soken, and chat thought it was hilarious. They were very chill about it and didn't try to correct me at all.
Nice chat.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, like, how often do you? I'm assuming it's mostly remote, or have you traveled much to work with the team?
All of my recordings have been remote. Except for when we recorded the videos for last year, or it was released last year. Yeah, the one with the primals, which I think was only on the Blu-ray, and the one with Keiko that is on YouTube. That was done there, but everything else has been remote, which is interesting. I mean, I would love to be able to be in the same room as him doing a recording sometime. It's just logistically, you know, there's a lot that goes into that, and we're on literally opposite sides of the world, so it's kind of expensive. It's an expensive session to fly me over to do that. But yeah, maybe one day everything will line up. We'll be in the same city at the same time, and that would be cool.
Is the direction process like real time, or sometimes do you kind of like lay tracks down and then get notes like later?
So this is actually a really unique process, and it makes me feel very valued and appreciated by Soken. He has me record usually 3 takes. 1 take just totally as written. Another take with a few added embellishments, and a 3rd take with me doing whatever the hell I want, pretty much. And from those takes, he will comp a final take, and he often will choose the things that I come up with myself. And so it really feels like it's a collaboration. And even though it's not happening in real time, he gives me a lot of freedom and like respects what I do enough to often put it in the final product.
That's cool.
Really cool. Yeah.
So you get to listen to your own and be like, oh, that's he got that part. Nice.
Yeah, surprising. Yeah. So like I don't, maybe you guys haven't played 16, but maybe you've heard my star at the end. Their whole little like oohing kind of improvised run that I did that was not written, and he just left it in there, and that was really cool.
Nice.
Appreciated that.
I think we're like a third of the way through 16. We started it, and then we started getting into the Endwalker mix, and we're like, something has to pause for right now.
But
So
we'll know the oohing when we hear it because the Crystal Tower. We're professionals. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm actually going to start playing 16 on Wednesday this week.
Nice.
I'm excited.
Nice.
Yeah.
That game is
So fun.
rad. I really liked it. As someone who I grew up playing Devil May Cry, that game, like, it was that scene of Ratatouille when it takes you back to your childhood. It's like, ooh, oh, this is some good video game.
Yeah. Sweet. I have to watch Ratatouille again.
You mentioned doing the live shows. We're gonna slide in a couple of questions from our community along the way, and one of our community members from our Discord goes by Bercy was curious what the process of touring with Distant Worlds was like, and I think there's more of that this year, as a matter of fact.
I have not done my first show with them yet.
So this is your first. Oh shoot!
Yeah,
rad. Because there's the New York one. I think is coming up soon, isn't it? Or soonish?
Yes. Yeah, New York and Seattle, and another one that I think has been announced somewhere.
Go to the official website and look at dates so we don't get Amanda in trouble.
You guys can Google that. Yeah.
That's cool. Well,
yeah,
I guess
June, so.
I guess a lookalike would be like what's it like preparing to go do FanFest, for example, like FanFest Vegas. Because I mean, behind the scenes, we started talking to your team about doing this, I think December or November of last year.
Yeah.
And we were like, what about January? And they're like, FanFest Japan. We're like, oh, right. That's a thing.
Yeah.
So I have to imagine it's quite the lead up.
Well, it was quite the lead up for the first one because I had to learn all the music, right? And a lot of the songs I had already sung. Well, actually, all of them I had already recorded at least. But as we were just talking about, you know, the process of recording is very different from the process of then performing. So even though I had done it and I like was aware of the music, I then needed to get it so memorized in my brain that I was not concerned about screwing up lyrics, which, to be honest, I didn't start the memorization process as early as I should have, because I was like, oh, I've recorded these. That's fine. They're pretty much in there. But Lord Almighty, the lyrics. They're so wordy. The What Angel Wakes Me is wordy as heck, but they all are. They're all super wordy. So yeah, I was just like a few days before I left for Vegas, I would just spend, 30 minutes before I went to bed, when I would wake up, whenever I had time to just look over my music or pull up the lyrics and just drill it. drill it, close my eyes, drill it, brush my teeth, drill it. On the airplane, the entire ride, which wasn't long from LA, just drilling lyrics. Got into the hotel, drilling lyrics. First rehearsal, drilling lyrics. And then also seeing to make sure that I memorized the arrangement too, because the arrangement in the recording that I made were slightly different from the arrangement that Keiko wrote for the performance. So sometimes there would be 3 measures and there were actually 4, or like 3 beats when there was 4, and I had to visually remember what the sheet music looked like in my head.
Oh no.
Yeah. I don't think I messed up in Vegas at all. I think it was so ingrained in my mind at that point. But then some time had elapsed. I was nervous as hell, though. I mean, I was nervous. I was nervous for the lyrics. I wasn't nervous for the actual performance itself. I don't really get nerves. I get adrenaline, which is great. You want adrenaline when you're performing, but I don't have fear, except for, oh no, if I say this word instead of that word, this word was from the third verse and this one's from the first, the fans will know. They're gonna think I'm a hack. Like, I gotta get this right. So it was mostly a lyric thing that was stressing me out. And then, some time had elapsed, obviously, between Vegas and London. And I still, I waited very long to start drilling the lyrics again. And I think I did mess up a little bit in London. But, that's a part of live performance. And the show must go on, literally. And you somehow, manage to get back to where you're supposed to be. And most people don't even realize that something happened. And then in Tokyo, at the Tokyo Dome, I asked for the lyrics to be on the monitors, which that was the first time I had ever requested that, because I kind of like to pride myself on being totally memorized, mostly because it gets me completely present, completely in that world that I'm trying to inhabit. If I'm kind of looking down at lyrics every now and then, maybe it kind of pulls me out. But I was nervous because that was being live streamed, going down in history forever and ever and ever. And I just wanted to have a backup. So I did ask for lyrics in Tokyo, and it was nice to have that. Did I feel like it pulled me out of my world just slightly, but not so much that it made much of a difference in my performance.
Oh my goodness. I didn't think of the changes. You would think, Shakespeare kind of has this pattern to it. So it's easy to memorize because it's like poetry. But the music can change, or they might do it and you memorize it that way. And how do you even know what song back then is going to have this huge impact for fans and they'll want to hear it 3 years later? It falls out of your head. You're done with the play. Never will I have to be that person again. No, it just comes up and sneaks up on you with changes. That sounds... How... Do you have a favorite tongue twister? How do you go through with angels and say, I'm going to breathe here because I don't get to breathe for the next minute?
Oh my gosh. You have to take really quick catch breaths. And that's something that you become kind of adept at when you're singing classical music, especially if you're singing music with a lot of melismas. Melismas are really quick notes, like 16th notes. That kind of you hear it in Bach, you hear it in early music. Rossini, some bel canto has a lot of really quick melismatic passages. And often with that kind of singing, you only get an eighth note, an eighth rest, which is very quick to breathe. And you have to be able to not only get a lot of air, but breathe in the way that sets you up to sing well in the next passage, because you can breathe like that and everything's spread and flat and my mouth is kind of smushed and I don't have a lot of space. Or you can breathe really quickly in the shape of the next vowel you're going to sing. Singers, that's a really important hack.
Pro move, yeah.
Breathe in the shape of the first vowel you're going to sing. And you just kind of learn how to do that quickly. So though What Angel Wakes Me is extremely challenging, you just kind of figure it out and take quick catch breaths and keep going.
I think this is a great place to shift into kind of full on musical spoilers, quote unquote. Because that was, I think that was right before we bowed out for fear of spoilers, Kyle, because the piano concert started. We're like, oh wait, we've done Titania, we can stick for this. Mm-hmm. And it was so impressive. And then it was this real light turning on moment for me of kind of getting what the full experience of FanFest is about and why the fans of this event they're so passionate about it, because it just kind of set it up to the next level. Just to stay with What Angel Wakes Me for a moment, I was trying to describe it to friends, and so I think I clearly have not internalized the word that you just explained, but I was just it was like the singer came out, I think her name's Amanda, and it was the most crazy staccato like live singing I've ever experienced. Because I like live music, but I go to like punk rock shows. I'm not used to what you're capable of. So
Punk rock shows are great too. I go to those also.
yeah, well, I was very impressed. And like I said, it was such a tonal shift from what I had experienced all day that I was like, wow, the fact that you can just, this is next and it works and it blends, impressed me endlessly. And I was so glad we got to see, even though we did get to see you perform the next day with the Primals.
And what a cool tone shift that was, getting to come out doing the rock star thing.
So much fun. Oh my gosh.
That was Flow Together, right? Mm-hmm. We were not familiar with the song at the time. I've done so much digging today trying to jolt my memory of what happened at the Primals concert, because it's not a part of the stream. Some wonderful person out there posted a set list somewhere. That's how I was able to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were completely unfamiliar with that track at the time, and only very recently have seen it in context of where it falls in the game, which we won't get into. But that track's incredible.
So fun. It's so great to see how Soken just even wants to do all of these different arrangements of the songs that are in the game. I think that's really what makes Final Fantasy XIV so unique and stand out, and part of the reason why players love the music so much, because he goes above and beyond with all of the iterations of the music, you know, not just in bringing motifs throughout the game, but just in doing completely different arrangements, a rock band arrangement, a piano arrangement, orchestral arrangement. Like, some people would just have good music and leave it there. And he's like, no, I want to be in a band. Let's go. Let's do rock. He's just such a rock star. He literally is, you know, and I relate to that. And he just wants to make it fun for himself, I think, primarily, which as an artist, I think that's a very important thing. You wanna do work that is really satisfying for you on a soul level. And if you really resonate and relate to the work that you're putting out, your audience will. And I think that's just how Soken operates. And he does what he wants to do, and it's so good, and it just elevates the entire experience for everybody.
Yeah, it was we were both talking about it. We're like, boy, it's like, we're not sure if it's mass on or mass off moment when the whole band comes out and everyone's just rock stars. Because when they're on stage just doing a panel, or when you bump into them in the hallway, they're so down to earth and gracious. And then on stage, bam, they're just absolute rock stars. And honestly, this interview with you, well, this interview with you too is very similar, because up until this point, you know, we've seen a few clips of you here and there, but we've been avoiding a lot of like react requests until we were done with Endwalker. And so up until this point, our experience with you, Amanda, has been, you were awesome at FanFest, and that was kind of it. And it's like, oh, you're down to earth as well.
Yeah,
and of course, loading screen.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think that's what's really awesome about the dev team, because they all want to connect with the fans and with you guys so much. They don't put themselves on a pedestal. They take their work very seriously, but then they are super down to earth, and they want to connect, and they're humorous, and they're fun. And, you know, the fact that that is modeled from the top, it trickles down to every element of the game. And, you know, for me and Jason to see that and experience that in these big events that can be really stressful, you know, it really, I feel like I'm in the right place. And Jason, he's such a pal now. It's great. He's very similar, where he's just like so down to earth and such a sweetheart, you know, and it really feels like the vibe attracted the tribe, the right people kind of come together into this project.
I really agree. I think that's absolutely right. Like you said, about trickling down to the game, because it's something that when we take time to talk about kind of the macro aspects of the narrative of Final Fantasy XIV, well, sometimes we catch ourselves being like, how does this all blend? Like it has such highs and lows, but it can also be really funny. It can be full on absurdist at times, and then bring you right back down to some of like the most emotionally impactful things you've ever seen in a video game, or really any narrative. It can transcend genre. And so I probably shouldn't have been so surprised, I guess, when I saw that kind of present in person at an event like FanFest. But now that the two of us have seen at least through the end of Endwalker, we're like, oh yeah, this is just kind of Final Fantasy. It is all things at once at different times.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
But while we're talking musical spoilers, we're curious if you do you have can you kill your darlings? Do you have a overall favorite piece from Final Fantasy XIV? And I'm also curious if your favorite piece is different from your favorite piece to perform live.
Well, because I haven't gotten that far into MSQs, I feel like the majority of the music that I have been exposed to has been through the Symphony and the FanFest. I really like the Primal's arrangement of the Titan theme song. It's just so epic, and I go so hard when we hear that live. Like in London, Alex and Husky and I were all on a dock in Limsa Lominsa watching the concert, and we just had a mosh pit during the Titan song. It was so much fun. I don't think there's video footage of it anywhere, but it happened. So I really like that one, and I've played and I've heard that in games. So that was really exciting to really resonate with that song, and then to be able to experience it while I was playing. So as far as one that I don't sing, I think currently that's my favorite. One that I really enjoy singing that I haven't performed live that I really want to is Return to Oblivion. Because it's so rangy, you have all of this kind of like spoken range mid-voice stuff, and then the vocal jumps up on top of the staff, and it's really intense. And I just like that distinction that is made between the energy and the intensity of that song. It's really fun, and I just really want to perform that live. I try to like talk to Soken and Keiko like, hey, can we program this? I really want to do this one live. It's so crazy. But I think my favorite to sing is probably Flo, mostly because he wrote it for me. When we did Tomorrow and Tomorrow, he hadn't worked with me yet. He remembered kind of how I sounded at that concert, and I think wrote in a range that he thought would suit me. But then after he had worked with me on different recordings, he really had a good understanding of what I could do. And then Flo felt so unique and special and written for me. So it just really hits a sentimental place in my heart when I sing it, because I'm like, this is my song. And I've never had that experience before.
I can tell you that it definitely has a sentimental hit for a lot of folks, at least in our community as well. Like it was when we hit that point in the game, chat was losing their minds. And while I was digging today, not that I would ever condone unofficial video from something that wasn't streamed, I found live performances of that I wasn't there for, and the instant audible gasp when the first few notes on the piano hit is just, I have to imagine that was it was cool to be on stage for that moment.
Yeah, it was emotional, especially the first time I heard it in Vegas, because I heard a gasp and immediate like sniffles, I was like, okay, gotta hold it together. Don't cry. Have to sing. Because crying is kind of contagious. You hear people crying around you, you can start crying too, and like, well, I'm not allowed to cry. I have to sing this song.
Well, along the lines of not knowing where it falls, someone in our Discord at Bella asks, what song are you most interested in seeing how it does fit into the story now as you're going through the game yourself?
All of the ones I sing.
Fair. Fair.
I think.
Spoilers.
Waiting awakes me too. Just because that song is so fun, and it just sounds like an evil fairy princess song, and that's the visual I have in my head. And so I'm curious to see if I'm anywhere close to that visual when I get to that in the game.
I'm gonna engage my poker face and simply say, interesting.
Interesting. Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Interesting.
Perfect.
I will say spoilers. Every time a song with you ends up in the game, it's usually a banger of a moment in game as well as the song itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was some good stuff. I mean, Kyle, you and I have an answer because we still haven't gotten to this point. I'm very excited to see where Scream comes in because we heard the song at FanFest. Still hasn't showed up in game. Don't know when it's coming. I'm excited to see
there are
when.
many mysteries.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it sounds like since you were conveyed in production too, it's very easy to assume that, the movie magic and you had a video of what was happening before your eyes and you were sent everything. It sounded like you were given raw emotions in your 3 takes and now there's a mystery waiting for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that will happen in recording sessions in LA when you're working on a film. They will be playing the scene behind, and I recorded. I actually have not seen it, but the live action Mulan I sang in, and I got to see some really intense scenes in the background while the choir was recording. That was so cool.
That was actually my next question because IMDb is still catching up when it comes to voice work in general. So what would you point people to be like, I did this, go look at this?
As I said Mulan, I realized I don't even think I have that in my IMDb.
No,
or
it's
my
here.
credits.
We got
is
that
it?
one. Yep, that one's there.
Oh, okay, cool. Great. I'm glad. I don't even remember anymore. To see stuff that I've done, I don't know. It's hard because so much of classical music when I'm performing with orchestras, often they're union orchestras, and so they have rules and laws against live recording.
Sure.
So there's archival recordings that the soloists can't get their hands on because that's illegal. So I don't really have a lot of like classical recordings. I have some bootleg stuff that is on my Instagram.
Nice.
Bootleg things. It's actually difficult to put together a reel, something that I need to kind of figure out and do. And I'm like, I really don't actually have a lot of footage of me doing these things that I do. And they certainly don't record that kind of stuff when you're doing sessions because you're under a big old NDA in Hollywood. So yeah, it's just kind of like, well, I sang in this film in the choir and I'm on there.
Score vocalist.
I did that.
Yeah, that seems to be the name that they got you under for a lot of these. Score vocalist.
There we go. That's true.
I'm also curious just about because you were at all 3 FanFests from the most recent. I don't want to call it a tour. That seems strange, but the most recent FanFest season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Doznabog in our Discord was curious if there was a unique vibe at each one. And if you thought songs that were played at all 3 hit harder at different venues. I know you mentioned that it seemed like America kind of like brings a lot of energy to their reaction.
Yeah. I think that's very American. I think we just rock out. Balls to the wall. It's great.
Used to the mosh pit situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say that, the energy was the most raucous at the North American Fan Fest. And London and Europe was there too. They were also really high energy, but not quite as like awesomely chaotic as the American one. And Tokyo, I mean, it's just culturally more like focused and respectful. And I definitely experienced that at the Eurasian Symphony, where there was absolutely no vocalizing. There was only clapping. And when there was a moment that was exciting, the clapping would intensify.
We're not contained, trapped behind these claps. Please know our appreciation.
Yeah, but at the Fan Fest there was a lot more like vocal hooting and hollering, but still just kind of like focused and intentional. And I'm curious to see how other areas might respond differently. That's kind of how I imagined it would go, though, based on like ideas of different cultures and places in the world.
Makes sense.
Also, I'm sure the chair situation has a large impact because if everyone's seated in stadium seating, they probably go more clap. But if there's a floor,
that's a good point.
Like breaks out a little bit.
Because there was seating at other fan fests, right? Because whereas the Vegas one, they removed seating when it was time for the Primals concert anyway.
So, now that I'm thinking back, because when I was talking about the Japanese fan fest just now, I was actually thinking about a lot of the daytime stuff, but during the evening, because that venue was so freaking big, I had to have my both in-ears in. And in London and Vegas, I had one in and one out, so I could hear a lot more of the room. And Soken was definitely like MC riling up the audience. And when he was really getting them into it, they were very, very loud. But again, I still had my in-ears in, so I couldn't hear it as well as if I didn't have them in. So they responded well to Soken. You got them going.
It can always be tough to hear yourself in various different venues and just the way you can monitor.
I'm remembering an interesting experience now that I had that was a very like intensely quiet moment. So when I walked out to do the piano concert, that stage was really big. And it was just Keiko's piano on the stage and nothing else. Whereas during the rehearsals the day before, there was all the band stuff and they still weren't done setting the stage. So the stage was very full of things. But then during the concert, my time is there. We got to go. There wasn't a spotlight on me. I had to walk in the darkness a very long distance. And you could hear a pin drop. It was so silent. And I was just like, don't trip, don't trip, don't trip, don't trip, don't trip, don't trip. And I get there. And then what's the first song that I sing? What Angel Wakes Me? And my heart was like racing out of my chest. Again, it wasn't nerves that were negative, but just the adrenaline and the, oh my gosh, it's finally happening. It's here. I'm in Tokyo Dome. This is totally bananas. Yes, I was rehearsing here the day before, but now that there's all these butts in the seats and they all have lights on, it's just a completely different experience. So that was really wild to walk out in the complete and utter silence. And then once the song started playing, then the spotlight came up and I was like, all right, take big ass breath and go.
Into the first song that is, of course, quite breath intensive too. So what a lineup. Oh my goodness. You don't think about those little things from the outside. I'm like, oh man, I hope they're sneaking all right. Like, I hope they got a chance to breathe on their way out.
Dude, does the drama of the live effects, like the spotlight coming up, does that have a helpful momentum for when you're stuck in the moment?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of like when it's for actors or for people who dress up in fun clothes, sometimes you don't feel like you're totally in character until you put the costume on. It's like that on stage, when the spotlights are really all on you and everyone's got their butts in the seat. It's like, it's game time. We are in it now. And it just hits differently. And it's really exciting.
I love to hear that. It took me too long to learn that as someone I've done like hosting gigs for live crowds. And it's just fun. I was like, I need a wardrobe for this. I need to wear something other than what I wear every day. Cause it kind of snaps you into the role.
It totally does. Makes a big difference. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to shift gears a little bit here and talk about playing the game and your life now, your streaming life that is now a part of your weekly experience.
Twitch.
So I think
Yes, twitch.tv/The Real Crystal Mommy and YouTube at The Real Crystal Mommy. Oh, nice. You got some LED signage back there.
Mommy.
Good branding. Well done.
I leaned into it.
Yeah, might as well.
There was so much of that going on when folks in our chat were like, you should watch some of Amanda's videos, but they just were like, watch the Crystal Mommy. I'm like, are we allowed to say that? Who's caught off guard?
I mean, I think when I first started getting called mommy or mom or mother, I had no idea what the heck was going on.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, I think it's because Heidelin is kind of like the mother of the universe. Got it. Okay, mommy. And then I was like, oh, there's a lot of different contexts for that word as well. But whatever, here we are. It's fine. I can lean into that too.
Yeah, it was the time period right as you started streaming too. That was like the popular Pika. Interesting.
Yeah.
The audience will audience. What they
Yeah, the audience, in fact, will audience.
You guys did.
Yeah.
The audience.
But we obviously it's a big game, and you have made your way through a massive chunk of it, being a Realm Reborn here. What did
Before
you?
we,
Yeah?
I want to just drop a disclaimer. Spoiler alert: if you're just starting a Final Fantasy XIV journey, we're gonna talk about up to the point that Amanda is at, which is the very beginning of Heavenward. So those are the only spoilers on the table for right now.
Yep, chat. You have an image on screen that you can, reference for your own needs. Let's try not to talk past that. If you've got a list available to you, gifts for the outcasts in the Dravanian Forelands would be where we currently are.
We want to get that overlay.
Yes, if you really want to be very specific about it, which I would suggest you do.
Yeah, but I'm curious about your most recent major endpoint, which would be finishing Realm Reborn. So you recently started streaming. We're coming up on a full year. I guess it hasn't been that recent, but more or less, streaming is a newer thing in your weekly happenings. How did you enjoy Realm Reborn? I'm sure there are quite a few aspects to you kind of experiencing the game.
Yeah, I'm watching the cutscene right now because this is like the scene that I was gonna talk about. Well, I've never played an MMO before, so I guess I didn't know exactly how much backstory would be involved there, of which there is a lot. Kind of coming from the 1.0 and switching over to the 2.0, and kind of understanding that transition really helped. I just watched the No Clip documentary, and that kind of gave me even more context for some of the ways that A Realm Reborn was flowing and set up. But again, never having played an MMO, I was like, oh, how many hours is it going to take me to get to Endwalker? What, like 200? Like, with other video games that I played in the 90s, I don't think I ever played a game that was more than 40 hours of gameplay. So that was the last time I had played video games, like Nintendo 64 in the 90s. So fast forward to now, there's a lot. And to be honest, it was a bit overwhelming as my first MMO.
I can assume. Yeah.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah. Luckily, I have a lot of mods who are I like to call them lore whores. Help remind me things, and
we have a new name for John, Kyle.
Wow. I love it.
Story slut, but I
it's a range. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a range. So as long as I'm surrounded by said lore whores, I feel confident that if there are important bits that I missed, because sometimes I'll talk over cutscenes that are important because I don't realize they're important because me and chat are going off on a tangent.
Well, how could you, right? Like it's so much bedrock, as you can assume, for the pyramid that's being built out of this storyline that eventually led to the songs that you're going to hear yourself hear in the video game. There's probably some things in there that don't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and the end of A Realm Reborn with the fucking twist surprise there was really exciting for me because some things started to kind of crystallize. All of the bedrock and the leading up kind of really connected for me for kind of the first time and got me really riled up and surprised. Like, I did not see this coming, what we're watching right now. And I definitely wanted to punch Ilberd through the screen many times. Really pissed off.
Working as intended.
I was just frankly excited that there was such a twist that totally took me off guard. And I was like, oh, okay, Final Fantasy XIV, I see you.
Yeah, it's subjective, but a lot of us, and I am in this camp, a lot of folks feel that Realm Reborn is a slow burn. And so the banquet scene, it's a pop-off moment. It's where, okay, this was a build. This is what we were getting to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was grateful for that. And yeah, I'm curious to see now if how the speed of the development of the story progresses. Like I said, I'm still in the beginning of Heavenward, partially because I started doing Dark Knight, and that's its own series.
Yeah, that's my main job. So yeah, you did exactly what I did. Kyle had to wait for me because I didn't want to get off of Dark Knight to continue Heavenward. I'm like, I need a couple days, dude. Let me get my levels.
Yeah. Warning if anyone is wanting to watch me playing Dark Knight, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but I've kind of realized that the entire thing is a big dick joke.
I am unaware of this.
You gotta like hold it in both hands, and it's a big sword.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And you reread some of this. I mean, some of the dialogue, it's just full of it. So
yeah, lots of grasping. Yeah. I can see it.
I point out a lot of the dick joke.
I see. This is where I effed up. I didn't stream my Dark Knight quests because, like, in the moment, I didn't realize which. But I haven't done every job. I've only completed a handful of job quest lines. Of those that I've completed, Dark Knight is easily the best. It is such a good narrative. Just the arc for Dark Knight. So highly recommend sticking with it. But I didn't.
I will. Yeah.
I didn't know it was any good. And chat will let you know the second anything could even maybe possibly be 1% of an innuendo. So.
Well, now you know a little bit about my streaming style too. I go there. We're respectfully degen.
As one should be online.
Yeah.
Always the best way to live.
Too. I just didn't pick up on that with Dark Knight. Now I feel left out. But thank you for enlightening me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I made you blush a little bit.
Well, now we're all going to be looking. He just knows what you've unleashed on him over the coming months as we all collectively.
Oh yeah, the next extreme we do, folks will be like, yeah, you grip him with both hands.
Yeah. Very important. Right. Very important.
You have a firm grip.
Exactly.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm bracing. I'm ready for this now.
So definitely a standout moment. Like just the fight scene pops off. The graphics are flying. Game of Thrones is heavy in the air. Was there anything before or after that you just kind of went, oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's interesting. Even if it was just text going by the screen.
I wasn't entirely convinced that she was murdered. I was like, okay, I feel like this is an elaborate setup here, and I don't have this emotional response to her being poisoned because she can't possibly be dead. Like that, everything up to that point was like, she's dead, she's murdered, it happened, and I'm like, no. That can't be right. That can't be right. So I think it was fun for me to kind of have my own narrative and understanding going on there, and like a little bit of denial and refusal to believe that this terrible travesty had actually happened. And yeah, it was great because I'm like, we got a mystery here now, and I feel more connected and invested to this story, and I'm curious to see what's happening because I frankly don't believe that this could have possibly happened. So what's the story here?
That is a lot of content to go through. I'm giving a little scroll here just to kind of see everything you've been through of recent.
I just remember so many boxes for Ilberd before the reveal, and just being like, why have I got to click on one more box?
Oh, of dialogue?
No, it was just like there was an actual pick up crates quest with the Crystal Braves. It was a moment where where the patch content almost broke me.
I think I blocked that out of my memory.
Yeah. It's not the most riveting, but I do remember because we still weren't streaming our gameplay yet, so I was playing privately, and I was just like, okay, well, I liked where things were going before this. What's happening here? And then the bloody banquet comes, and you're like, got it. Okay,
yeah.
We're good.
Then it hits home. Yeah, I mean, I think back with like PTSD on the Wineport fetch quests.
Oh,
for like hours and hours.
Oh God, I remember. Yeah, that's just after Costa del Sol, I think. Because aren't you bring wine to the big wig out in Costa del Sol? At least you get to hear Costa del Sol's music every time, because that freaking
cool.
track, I love it. And then didn't we find out in an interview that Soken didn't have maracas, so he used to drive ramen cup as maracas for that track? I think
Yep, that was the word.
I think that's the factoid on the Costa del Sol track that everyone.
So they
Japanese.
say, but I believe it.
Maracas got his
I
track
choose to believe it.
I love it.
We saw it with our own eyes. It was so good in an interview telling that story. So it's not like the unattributed factoids that get fired up in our chat that we have learned not to trust.
That's amazing. Wow. Yes.
Yeah, that kind of, I love hearing that kind of stuff. It's freaking fantastic. What did you think of like the core group, like the Scions kind of getting cast to the wind at the end of Realm Reborn?
Yeah. I was okay, honestly, I think I was just so excited to have like gotten to the end that I don't know how I felt at that moment.
That's fair. That is fair.
I'm like, wait, do I have something to say? Wait, no.
Well, it is the internet. We tier list things. So favorite Scions at this moment then?
Well, it was Thancred, but then he had that whole weird issue with the Asians, and then I kind of lost favor for him.
Poor guy.
Even after he, tried to protect everybody during the bloody banquet.
It's just I don't want to like ERP with him anymore.
Oh, get involved with that. It's a little messy. Yeah.
Yeah, romantically, no, we can be friends.
Just want to date one person at a time.
Yeah. I think that my new crush is, well, not necessarily, but my new crush is Minfilia. I want to be like the gal pal that everyone thinks we're just friends, but like we go on long extended trips together and to Costa del Sol, and we're not just friends.
Fabulous choice.
That's my fave currently.
I believe Kyle was and still is a #1 Minfilia fan in the grinding gear community.
I'm a Cyclops enjoyer. I love, maybe people call them boring, but I always got to respect the person holding the ship together. And there's a lot of personality-ful Scions, you could say. And it's nice to have Minfilia around to keep things actually working.
It's hard to be a boss babe. You know, you got to know how to say what you need people to do and be compassionate and effective with the things you need them to drive out. Like, she is big inspo for all boss babing out there.
Well, what about your fellow bridge through the snow walking buddy Alphino? Where's he ranking for you?
Annoying in a Realm Reborn? Now that Colin is doing the voice acting, it's slightly less annoying. I like Colin's voice. It's a different effect.
It's so based.
I'm glad they made that.
All right, yeah, your honorary grinding gear member, because that was exactly our experience.
Good company all around.
Oh my god, yeah. Kyle had to talk me off a couple ledges. I'm like, what is with this? Like, does Yoshi P have a son named Alphino? Like, why is this the most important character?
So bossy.
Yeah.
So bossy.
Yeah, but he's
so haughty.
Starts to take a turn at the beginning of Heavenward. Becomes a more more depth to that character.
Yeah.
Beyond
Definitely.
just, which is interesting, Kyle, because you saying, "Oh, I must defend the leaders of the group that try and hold things together." Alphino also kind of falls into that archetype. He's a bit of the Leonardo, Cyclops.
I got without Minfilia in the room, but there you're just
when everyone is cast to the wind. Yeah,
you got Minfilia right there, Minfilia.
Okay.
This is the time in my stream where I would take a little break, if you know what I mean.
Oh,
I drank a lot of water.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Go for it.
Okay, cool.
Yes, totally fine.
Great. Can you guys mute my mic on your end?
Yes,
we can indeed.
Great. Give it the old right click.
Yeah,
Kyle.
it is done. Chat, how you
Also
doing?
on my end. How are you doing?
Hello, everybody. Hello. Good to see you all here. I see some messages we have received earlier, and we'll be sure to get those. Let me, just for the sake of my visual recording, I will do a little bit. I'm just going to switch to this real fast so that we have a visual layout in the record we're doing locally here.
Oh, that'll be nice. That'll help us pinpoint this moment.
Find the moment. How's it feel being Jesse in the conversation? Good. Other than, going to the MSQ and making sure. So what I was saying earlier, guys, is no talking out there. You're not allowed to talk. Don't talk about the talk.
Don't talk about the talk.
Yeah.
You probably mentioned the name because there's no real, relevance there. But why? Why? To what end? Why even bring it up?
Why would we? Well, except for it's like one of my favorite moments in Heavenward.
Well, that's why you would bring it up, but we're not going to bring it up in front of a man.
That's why it took me a moment.
Yeah,
that's why it took me a moment to, I had to do my sweet Googling real quick.
Thick ass talk. Okay, we can go. He's
got thighs.
Rav's not that thick.
He's pretty. It's like armory, so
Yeah,
it's
It's an expansion with good old Xenos. So, no, Xenos is next after Stormblood. The floor for what is considered thick in Final Fantasy changes drastically.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, then you look back at just the absolute. I'm scrolling through it right now, and I just see the pile of quests that made up the patch content here with Snowcloak and Keeper of the Lake, and you're like, sweet, we almost made it. We almost did it all. And then you got 2.55, which is 10 hours long, easy to get through.
255 is long.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Welcome back.
That's a lot. Welcome back. Oh,
there's a lot of patch.
Patchy. Yep, indeed.
Which I get, if I had been playing along in real time and have had the months to get through, and then I was like, whoa, I'm bored, what do I do? And then the patch come, and then I am doing it all in real time, that's great. But if you're doing it like us, where you have 10 years of lore to get through, it's a very intensive process. I honestly, I feel like I could probably start taking notes at this point.
You have assistance. You have assistance as well, but also it's a great game to just kind of feel the vibe of it. And today I'm doing Gold Saucer. We're gonna go over here. I feel like we're in some dungeons. There's so much you can do in the game that's not MSQ or just it's a great conversation piece. I think that's the funnest thing about streaming it is you put it on, you're like, here is the absolute breadth of conversation that we can have. And even saying I'm level 53 or whatever, it's still a lot you get to talk about with an audience.
Oh yeah, I think I talk about a lot of things that aren't the MSQ so much that my mods are like, MSQ, do the MSQ. I do all of everything else very easily. But that's what I love about 14 is that there are so many things you can do that aren't the storyline. Yeah, it's a whole universe, and that's so cool. Never experienced that before.
We have a phrase in our community now, courtesy of Jesse, that is click the thing. Click the thing.
I like that.
Yeah.
And you've really kind of branched out in your stream here. You have other streams going on too, whether musically or you're having a guest over. It's cool to see how much that has grown over the last 6 months.
So fun. I've done 2 music concerts, and I'm actually doing one this coming Sunday if anyone wants to jump on. It's all song request stuff, and I've got a wide variety of songs and genres I do. And I learned some video game songs last time. I learned Snake Eater, which is just my absolute new favorite thing to sing. Learned Simple and Clean from Kingdom Hearts, learned a Nier song. So that was fun to kind of expand my video game musical horizons and learn some new stuff there. So I've been doing concerts. I've done these couch streams twice, once with Ben, once with Jesse. The next one I haven't scheduled it yet, but it's going to be with Jason Charles Miller. Nice. And And we'll probably do some singing and stuff. And what I'm actually really excited about is I bought last season's set of hot sauces from Hot Ones, which is a interview show on YouTube that you guys seem like you're familiar with.
I got the 2 hottest ones in my stocking for Christmas this year.
Did you get the bomb?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
My wife Katie loves hot sauce and loves watching me wince, so that was in my stocking, and I got the
Nice.
bomb and the last dab.
Yeah. The bomb's crazy because it doesn't hit you. It takes like a minute.
Yeah, and
So,
when it does, it's just like pain. There's like
It's
almost
just
no
pain.
flavor.
No flavor.
It
Goodness.
just hurts.
Yeah.
The
Just-
last dab's actually good. Like it's a
It
good
is.
hot sauce. If
Yeah.
you have it on a whole, like I love hot sauce on my sub sandwiches. If you have it on a whole sandwich, you will be in pain by the end of it. But it builds up. Whereas
It's
the
really
bomb,
good.
the bomb it's just a
It-
bottle of suck.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's interesting because if you have one-offs, I really like the ones in the middle because they're flavorful and a good amount of spice. But I just imagine that it really does build on each other when you sit down and you do them all in one sitting, and it's all in a span of like 25 minutes. Because I can have a little bit of the last dab and be like, this is good. But if that was literally the 10th session of hot sauce that I had in 25 minutes, I'd probably be screaming and crying. So anyway, me and Jason Charles Miller are going to do that on the next.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I do.
That's
Tune
fantastic.
in. And then I think we'll probably like try and attempt to sing a song together after
Well,
we complete all.
it's the natural next question. However horrifying the thought might be, it will be very amusing. So thank you for knowing what we all want in that particular scenario.
Mhm.
Will there be costumes? Because the clips that have come out of your streams with guests are so highly entertaining.
Always. I'm gonna get I'm gonna have it like a cowboy hat. So he's the cowboy of darkness, so I'm gonna be the cowgirl of awesomeness, of lightness.
Well, yeah, like a white hat, black hat in
Exactly.
westerns.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
bad guy, good guy. Yeah. So
That would
that
be
will
perfect.
definitely happen, and we'll see. I have accessories aplenty in my closet, so it's fun to go through there.
That's fantastic. That's so good. Well, thank you for sharing. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, while you're talking about your stream, as we're winding down here, remind everyone where they can find you, like your Twitch, all of your socials. Where can folks tune in and catch up
Yeah.
with the
All
real
of it.
Crystal Mommy?
All of those things. Twitter. Amanda, is it _Aiken? I just changed it actually. It's either Amanda.Aiken or Amanda_Aiken.
I believe it is
On
underscore.
Twitter,
As someone who had to tag you
It
a
is
lot recently.
_ My mods are probably like, you don't know, this is what it is. No, sometimes I don't. So Twitter is a good place. Twitch, obviously, the real Crystal Mommy. I have a Discord. All of those links are in my link tree, which you guys have. And I'm on Instagram. Also, Instagram is just such a weird platform. That used to be the only one I was on, and then I got on Twitter and I was like, oh wow, people are actually engaging here. That's cool. And so now I mostly do stuff on Twitter.
The 14
Um,
audience seems particularly active on
Mhm.
Twitter.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah. And
Alright, well,
and I have a Crystal Mommy YouTube. I forget about that. And so we're uploading the VODs and the couch streams, and got some React videos on there right now, the no clip React, and we'll be doing more of those. So that's also the real Crystal Mommy on the YouTubes. Yeah, but I'm around. You guys can find me.
Fantastic. Well, everybody, make sure you go check that out. Yeah, the YouTube is how I was catching up on some of the Ben stream that I wasn't able to catch live. I
Mm.
highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Very
It's
fun for any of you.
He had so
fa-
much fun. He had never done a stream like that before. He'd been in like production studios where they were filming it and then did something that wasn't live. But that was the first time he had ever actually like sat down on a Twitch stream. And It was fun. I was surprised that we went for 4 hours. I mean, I wasn't surprised because we have a good banter, but I thought, oh my gosh, she's gonna get exhausted. Like maybe we'll do this for 2, and we just kept going for 4 hours. And by the end of the night, after we logged off, he was just so tired.
That's surprising. Yeah, 'cause it's Ben Starr, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know who we're talking about. The voice actor for Clive in Final Fantasy XIV was on your stream in person. And it's just a riotous good time. Yeah, I was watching. I'm like, oh, Ben must stream all the time. It just seemed really natural. He fell right into it.
No, he doesn't, and it was nice because he said, "Man, if we lived in the same city, like I would do this with you every week." Oh, we're on opposite sides of the world.
Well, I can attest. If you say that enough times, eventually, someone will move. Like Kyle did that. I mean, I told Kyle that enough times. I'm like, oh, this is so much fun in person.
It's only natural. It's only natural.
Yeah. It will happen. It will happen. You have better weather in California.
Yeah, the weather's nice, but I really want to move to Europe actually. So that's like
understandable
in the ethos of what I'm wanting to do with my life. Ideally, I'd like live half the time in Europe, half the time in LA. Thanks, universe. That's gonna happen.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Well, I know we wanted to have you out of here by about 5 p.m. So, yeah, thank you again so much for joining us. And again, everyone go follow Amanda everywhere. I see our mods have already been dropping some links in our chat. But if you're watching this after the fact, we have links in the description below. So please enjoy. And so that's going to wrap up the official recording for this. Means you're free to jump ship whenever you want, Amanda.
So is this part on the Discord then?
Well, when we do a podcast recording, we usually have like the countdown, and then we have the proper recording, and that's kind of when this gets released as a podcast. That's what goes out onto the podcast feeds. But we usually keep the stream live for a few minutes. If super chats came in, we think the super chats.
Do some hanging after the show. The show not interacting with chat part has gone by. Kind of a weird thing to live stream. Be like,
I wanted to pull it up on my monitor and see what chat was saying, but I also get really distracted by chat. So I thought, I should probably just pay attention to you guys.
Well, they were absolutely lovely today. They were amazing. Yeah. And she's amazing.
Right now they're saying, don't ignore us.
Okay, they want to be ignored. I'm sorry. They want to be ignored, but they were highly complimentary.
Yes, yeah, we got a lot of compliments for you. So yeah, so we're still live now, but I always like to let guests know that like don't feel like you have to stick around for the after show. We're just it's where we start like really properly just kind of hanging out with chat with no attempts at keeping a good speed to conversation going.
Yeah, I get it. Well, I can hang around until 2 and then bounce off. So
sweet,
I'm happy
sounds good.
I know we got a few supers in your direction. A bunch of them straight up just complimentary, but I think there were a few questions that we can drop in here.
Cool.
Aaron supered and asked if you've ever had what you would describe as a surreal moment when you hear your voice while playing Final Fantasy XIV.
Well, the first thing that came to mind was I've definitely have had what I would qualify as almost out of body experiences while I'm performing. So I think that would qualify as a surreal moment. And the best way I can describe that is that everything feels really like calm, and like I am using no extraneous effort to do what I'm doing, and that music is just kind of happening through me. This experience is like I have become the experience, and there's almost not a separation of Amanda and this music. It's like one and the same, and it feels like slow motion and just really magical and special, and everything feels like it's happening perfectly. So I've had that before.
No, I did a lot of live theater throughout college before I got into working online, and there's a huge difference without the audience there. You're all here, But there's also like that just like raw energy, and the lights are in your eyes and you can't see them, but you know you're being watched. And you do. Like, well, flow state, I guess, would be kind of a pun to make, but it does happen.
Exactly.
Totally.
I love that you've explained that.
My trick when hosting live events is I use exit signs as my eye lines, and it helps me just kind of disassociate.
Yeah, same. Yeah, it's a good eye line that way.
Yeah. You're looking
and
at
when I want
the
to go
crowd,
extra dramatic, I'll like look up into the sky for something. But usually not below the exit sign.
You don't want to be looking at your feet. Yeah, it's not a good look.
Unless you're talking about your feet, I guess.
Well, yeah, which probably happens more on streams than performing at a video game.
I don't know. Some of those old.
You talk about my feet on Twitch. What do you mean? Like, it's so taboo.
And some of those old arias, they're written about some crazy crap. I wouldn't be surprised if there's one about feet. There's probably one in there.
Yeah, the whole foot aria.
We'll get Tarantino to write an aria,
yeah,
and we'll see what comes out of it.
Wait, didn't it just come out that Dan Schneider kind of had a foot fetish?
Yes. A lot of things about Dan Schneider just came out. Oh my God. I'm hot off watching that series, and I do not recommend watching it before bed. My blood was boiling and I was just trying to go to sleep because we had just wrapped it up, and I was like, this is horrendous. But yes. Yeah, and now a lot of my
besides the logo that was the foot, and then I've been seeing that going around.
So much of my childhood as a 90s kid makes so much sense now.
Does it explain the slime?
Yes. Yeah, it's messed up.
I think I'd rather watch Tiger King again if I had to choose.
I mean, honestly, a similar energy of kind of losing faith in humanity from I'd say both of these docuseries, but yeah. I mean, there's lights at the end of those tunnels. No, there's lights at those end of those tunnels.
I wouldn't have put that together, but now I'm thinking about that was their symbol, huh? No,
you're just thinking. Well, there were many Nickelodeon symbols, but quite memorable one was feet. I'm so sorry to the next message I'm going to read that's going to follow this feet discussion, but Tier sent in a really sweet message. It said, Amanda, I want to thank you for your work. My husband and I set our vows with Tomorrow and Tomorrow back in February of 2020. It's something I will cherish to my dying day. You're an amazing singer. Please have fun in 14.
That's so touching. It's so... When I hear stories like this, I really feel like, wow, I came to the earth to do what I was supposed to do, that it affected people that much. So that is really very touching to hear. Thank you for sharing that.
That's awesome.
That kind of stuff. Thanks for sharing, Tier.
Yeah.
And then a question I wasn't sure we were going to have time for, but it just, I thought it was so amusing. Winston from our Discord said, okay, so Jason Charles Miller, Keiko, Soken, and you walk into a bar. What is everyone ordering?
Oh, I saw this in your brief.
I was hoping we'd find a place to ask this.
So I guess it depends on if we're in Japan, in a Japanese bar, or in an American bar. So I actually finally did go drinking with Soken and some of the team the last time we were in Tokyo, and that was a hoot. Oh my gosh. And Soken, apparently he used to work in a bar a long time ago, and he said his favorite thing to do when he was in a bar, when, there's a lot of different levels of sake. You got some top shelf and you got some not top shelf, and sake is everywhere in Japan. And so the bars he was working in didn't have top shelf sake. And we kind of went into a dive bar. And one of the Primals, Goon, we were talking about sake, and he had ordered a really fancy sake, and it was super good. And then Soken was like, well, let's try this. Let's get this level sake, but we're gonna get some pickled plums. And put the pickled plums in there, and then pour the sake on top, and then you kind of muddle up the pickled plum. And pickled things are my favorite. I love sour. And so that was really fun for him to make that for me and get to drink that. And so I would imagine that Soken would order that. I feel like Keiko. So one of the really popular drinks to drink in Tokyo are shoju sours, or maybe shoju and sour, they're different. But a sour is I think it's a rice and or sweet potato liquor. Shochu definitely is. It's really high alcohol content, but a sour, I think it's the same, just lower alcohol content, and it's like sour. And so you can mix that with a lot of different beverages. And my favorite was Calpico sour. And Calpico is kind of this like, there might actually be dairy in there. It's kind of a yogurty drink, slightly effervescent. And that with the sour, was so good. So I would imagine that Keiko would probably order some sort of sour drink, or like sparkling wine, because she's just so like fancy and sparkly. And JCM actually doesn't really drink. And I've only seen him drink like twice. The first time I saw him drink was after FanFest Vegas. We had a whole dinner we were treated to, and they had all these kind of fancy cocktails. And I think he had like a Manhattan or something, and just one. And then in Tokyo also, when we went out to drink, he was happy with the sours because those are quite low alcohol. So I would imagine him also probably would order a sour if he wanted to have more than one drink. And if he wanted to have one drink, maybe it would be some whiskey thing. And what would I order? What would I order? I really do love sake. So if I'm in Japan, I would probably try to get someone to like tell me what their favorite sake is and go for that. Like I said, I do enjoy the Calpico sour. If I'm here in LA or I'm just not in Japan, I really like mezcal. So I'll just drink it straight with like tahini on the rim and a lime.
I have a small mezcal collection.
Cool.
I'm a big cocktail nerd. My wife and I both enjoy it, so we have, I think we're up to like almost an 80 bottle bar at home. Yeah.
Okay.
But we have,
do you have a mezcal cocktail that is like coming to mind right now that you would recommend?
yes, there's a few. My favorite is a Naked and Famous, which is you probably make it with any. It is made with Aperol, and it's a equal parts. It's a 4-part cocktail. It's in the very first Death & Co. cocktail book, and I got to drink with the bartender who made this drink, which was a cool experience. Which is also why it stays in my mind. But it's a simple 4-ingredient cocktail that's equal parts Aperol, mezcal, lime juice, it's lime and lemon, and then I think it's yellow chartreuse. So.
You know what? I did actually see that drink on a menu nearby where I live the other day. I didn't order it.
There's a Death & Co. in LA, and Death & Co. is a phenomenal cocktail bar.
Okay. I will make a note and go do that. But yeah, I saw this cocktail. I don't remember if it was called Naked and Famous there, but it had the chartreuse, and I was just like surprised because I had never really seen that combination with mezcal before, but I didn't order it. I ordered a different mezcal cocktail. So I got
you definitely want something that's particularly smoky so that it cuts through the sweetness of the Aperol and the yellow chartreuse. And it's my favorite shaken cocktail. I think it's absolutely incredible.
Cool.
Great. I'll have to chat. I'll drop you a spec in the speakeasy in the Discord because I need to double check if it's lime or lemon. I'm pretty sure it's lime. Anyway.
Lime's the best. Lime's kind of superior.
Big, cocktails come up a lot in our streams because
cool.
My home hobby has gotten out into the world, and then I love it because Kyle, the other 50%, is just like, alcohol is fun.
Is there like a lemonade with a thing in it? It tastes mostly like lemonade. I'll be pleased.
Well, we learned at FanFest that you're a margarita guy.
Yes, I do like margaritas.
I didn't know.
Yes.
I didn't know.
Is there anyone who's not a margarita guy?
It's easy.
Love a good margarita. Yeah.
Folks who had bad tequila experiences in college, I find. Are
we all
not
have. Yeah, we all. Bacardi Raz would be mine. I never want to see again. But we all have that one.
I
Yeah.
never had bad tequila experiences when I was young. I had bad,
Yeah,
like
I-
room temperature vodka in a plastic bottle
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah.
So I don't really drink vodka very much.
Cheap flavored rum was
Huh.
my menace in
Yeah.
college. Like, get anything Bacardi away from me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Please
I
and
do.
thank you.
I do like wine though. When I'm streaming, usually I'm drinking wine, and mostly that's because I got a couple of wine boxes delivered to me since December. I've had two delivered, and they both came with like 12 bottles of wine. So I've kind of been slowly
nice.
working my way through wine. And yeah, I love wine. It makes me feel super flushed though. I get like really rosy cheeked and red, and I love the flavor and I love the experience of wine. But for some reason, tequila doesn't do that to me. Tequila
Yeah.
really works.
I never bought into like the different types of liquor affect you different ways until I started drinking wine, and it's same thing. I feel
Yeah.
like I feel very like warm in the face when I drink wine.
Yeah.
And cheap wine really does a number on me, and I don't feel great when I drink cheap wine, but I quite enjoy at least the middle of the road price
Yeah.
wine is a good experience. But
Yeah.
like any other cocktail, I'm like, yeah, they all affect me the same way. It's just I just gotta be
Mhm.
careful how much I drink.
I think tequila, I heard this from somewhere that in like some tequila studies, it's kind of qualified as an upper. It's got almost a caffeine effect compared to other liquor somehow.
I do like
Science.
coffee. Interesting.
Yeah, I do
know?
too. I love
Me
tequila.
too.
I really like agave, and
Yeah.
and it was a thing that actually the same experience when I was enjoying a Naked and Famous at a bar in New York with and talking to the bartender that had concocted this drink. I didn't like tequila at the time, and he went into a back room. He grabbed a vial of pure roasted agave, which just looked like black tar, and he gave me some of it on like a tongue depressor. He was like, "Taste this." He's like, "That's the flavor you're looking for when you have tequila, and if you can't find that flavor, it's cheap junk, and that's probably why you don't like it." And
Wow.
just completely changed like what I was like looking for palate wise when I would have tequila. And ever since then, I have just loved and been obsessed with tequila.
Into the tequila wizard.
Yeah, it was cool. It was straight up like a wizard. Like he went back into his apothecary laboratory and came back with an actual vial, and it was nuts. It was a very cool experience. And speaking of cool experiences, we got another message from you from Valea. Thanks, Valea. Valea wanted you to know that I am one of those people who cannot listen to Flow without crying. It's hard to even think about the song at times without getting emotional. Thanks so much for your beautiful work, Amanda.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I part of me, thinks like, oh, I'm such an emotional singer and they're crying because my voice is so emotional. And then the other part's like, I can't wait to actually understand the context for why people are crying. That's part of it, but like also the story.
Towards the end in Endwalker, I think it never naturally came up in our recording, but I was like, in case it came up, I was like, I need to have an answer for like, what's my favorite song that you're a part of? And in our final moments of Endwalker, there's a point where with Hearts Aligned is like the battle theme, so it comes up a lot in Endwalker. So when we were in a near the end battle, that part comes on. I'm just like, God, I love this part. It's such a rush of energy, and it's perfect for it to be in a battle theme. Like it it works for such an action-packed section of the game. But yeah, I can tell I've at least once per an expansion in my playthrough of 14, I've ended up humming something while washing the dishes, and I've noticed, oh, it's with Hearts Aligned for Endwalker. That's what I hum.
Cool.
It just gets stuck in my head when we editing videos, and it comes up a bunch in the videos.
Nice.
So yeah, it's rad.
An earworm. Yeah.
That it is. So well, rad. Well, thanks for hanging out for the after show too, Amanda. Much
Yeah,
appreciated.
appreciate you.
Totally. We'll do it again sometime.
Yeah, thanks in general for joining us. Good luck in everything you got going on as well.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, lots of projects that I'm like that's the fun part of being a creator, as you guys can relate, right? We all have all these fun ideas, but then it's the organizing them and figuring out how to carry them all out.
And how it makes it such a treat when you find time for those ones that are like close to you that you like haven't forgotten about. You're like, I still really want to find time to do that. So it makes it a treat when you do find the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Rab, we'll enjoy it. And
Thanks, guys.
we'll have to tune in, and we finally get to be emotional vampires now that we have gotten through
There you
Endwalker.
go.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't just lurk. Say hi.
we'll pop in every once in a while. So see what's up. See what ridiculous thing you're making making Jason wear.
It gets my streams can get quite ridiculous. You got a taste of it here in this interview, but I go a lot harder.
I've seen the clips. Your stream is
You've seen
incredible.
some. Okay,
It's
good.
absolutely incredible. And yeah, I was looking at our outline today. I was like, these are like such serious questions. And where are we gonna find time for Amanda to let loose like in her
I
streams?
brought
It's
in
like
the dick joke.
she'll find a way.
yeah,
we got
She'll
it.
find a
Yeah,
way.
we found our way this evening.
Yeah, it was great. Well, thanks again for your time, Amanda. And please thank your team for us too. They were great in coordinating this.
Team rocks. Cool. Well, ciao, guys. Bye. Thanks for having me, and see you around.
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming.
thanks for coming on. See you again.
Chat, we are going to reorganize.
I'll disappear for a moment.
Yep. And then we shall have Garrett back, and I will be here broken alone for a moment. Hello.
Hi, I'm back.
Hello, welcome back.
Hello.
All right, let me get you in here.
All right. Chat, now I'm like racking my brain on the I don't want to leave you hanging on that cocktail. Naked and famous. Chichi Capa Mezcal, Yellow Chartreuse, Aperol, lime juice, equal parts. I didn't lead you astray.
You
Didn't
got
do
it. Nice.
I
Nailed
didn't
it.
do it. It's a 1-1-1. In the Death and Co book, it recommends 3/4 of an ounce. We actually do a full ounce of everything. It fills a Naked Nora glass or a coupe much more nicely if you just do an ounce of everything. So go make that cocktail. It was engineered. I don't know what you call it. Do you call it engineering a cocktail? It was made. It was created by Joaquin Simo. I was so lucky to be able to drink at his bar while he was there when it was still open. When he stopped working at Death & Co., he went and opened his own bar in the Lower East Side of New York City. It was called Pouring Ribbons, and it's probably my favorite bar I've ever been to. Sadly, it did not survive the pandemic. But he was working that night, and we were there with our mutual friends, Kyle, Ben, and Abby, and they met him the last time they went. And so he recognized them, and he just hung out at our table all night. So I just got to hang out with the owner of the bar, who made a bunch of drinks that I love, and it was just so cool. It was so freaking cool. It's an experience I'll never forget. But I love that. I absolutely adore that cocktail. It's so good.
Pathy said, now Kyle recommend a isekai, and I really need to come up with, were you looking for some tender notes, perhaps a sweet, how would you say, like a background taste, Garrett?
Yeah, it would be notes.
Notes. Okay. What other
notes
fancy
of-
words could I say about isekais? Like
You're looking for a hint of,
a hint of undead. A hint of undead.
if we're talking cocktails, a base gets used a lot. What is the base?
Yeah,
what is the
want a
underlying
stat-
structure of this
Stat
entire?
heavy base.
Okay.
A guild base. A guild base really levels out the.
Yeah,
the
you really
isekai.
should start you should start like a TikTok so that it's manageable. Do short form content called Isekai, where you just shout out to
Oh my
Christopher
god!
Christopher Clayton in the chat room for that joke. I cannot
Oh my
claim
God.
ownership, but you should. Now I'm coming up with what is Isekai, and Isekai is your TikTok account. That's your fucking TikTok account, and you need to fucking start a TikTok
Wow.
account and just do like 90-second Isekai reviews on TikTok, and then you can have minis where you also like. Now we're just reviewing this one fight scene from this one isekai so that you have enough content.
Yes, you won't. Yeah, because first episodes, they're happen a lot, but not all the time. Yeah, we'd have to make sure we spread a.
You can become an isekai sommelier.
Damn.
You advertise yourself as the isekai, and that's how it will all work.
Oh man, I need the chair. I got to get a nice robe. I want that zoom in. Just a quick. It's quick. Just something quick, but.
Well, get with our buddy Chillrog, who does all the tech TikToks.
Oh yeah,
he has the nicest lens for his Sony. It's the lens is more than the body. I asked him one day, I was like, dude, your TikToks look amazing. What fucking lens are you using? He's like, this one. I'm like, oh, I know exactly what lens that is because I looked at it and I decided it was not in the budget. Yeah, it's nice. Sony G Master lenses. They're all amazing. All of them, every single one. They're so good. Freaking hell. Jeff Anderson, it has been a long road. Hope you're having a good time. Thanks for joining us today. Arwojo, thank you for praising the real Crystal Mommy. I hope we did it justice and praised her properly.
Thank you all for the kind words for our guest today. It clearly meant a lot to him. That was awesome for y'all being here. It was really cool to get to talk to Amanda for as long as we did too.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian, thanks for becoming a member during this. Welcome to the Gearbox. Dino, thanks for greeting our guest and us. Said y'all have enhanced my enjoyment of 14. Have a great day. We will, Dino. You have a great day.
Very well.
Thanks for hanging out so much.
Endeavor to do so more.
Winkle said, all I'm hearing now is Amanda Akak, like a Martian from Mars Attacks. I cannot believe I've never noticed myself being corrected on the pronunciation of Amanda's last name.
Oh, I didn't ask either. So good job fielding that. Though it also led to an excellent moment of her talking about her early voice instructors, which, whoo, man, voice instructors, they're intense. They are intense because they're all, they don't know. They got moldable clay in their hands. They could have the next huge thing. So they are all like, so I think
it's
led.
Like coaches.
Yep.
It's like my teachers in art school.
Yep.
Your miles vary per person. You definitely have your overbearing ones, but you might find yourself with some really nurturing ones.
So it led to that story, which prompted prompt after prompt. So I'm glad you did it. Personally, I'm happy you did it.
Unscripted follow-up question. I'm going to toot your horn before we even out of the stream of what we just did. Your unscripted follow-up questions were fucking god tier today, dude. Holy
thank
shit.
you.
You had a few in there where I was just sitting here stunned, like, holy shit, man, that is a question.
It was interesting. Yes, and chat as well. I'm sorry to have dropped that Kristen bomb on y'all of the background lore.
Has that not come up before?
No, I don't think so because
I guess not.
Yeah, because back in the Here's the Storm days, occasionally we'd have to pause the show to go let Kristen know that the opera was rocking a little hard sometimes and was echoing down our small apartment. But yeah, no, she's very much classically trained. Did a lot in Chicago with it, but naturally, it's been busy. It's been busy around here, so it's been a little bit. But just hearing her talk about getting to talk to Amanda about her language and just like all that stuff, I just heard years of trial and work and coaching and preparation. It was very cool to have that relation to what she was talking about today.
I'm really, I'm always happy to have you here, but I'm particularly happy to have you here today because I just like, I got nothing. I like punk rock. They forget words constantly. It's kind of expected. I just saw an interview with the lead singer of NoFX where he was saying, yeah, people kind of expect us to fuck up and it's kind of endearing. So, but my tip to the whole band has always been just like, don't fuck up your timing because it's the only thing that even makes punk sound terrible. You can be off key, you can play the wrong note, just play on tempo at the very bare minimum. And I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
To hear.
Well, and just like getting a song changed. Oh my God. Like, directors would walk in the room and be like, here's the script change. I'm changing it. Cause you'd be doing community theater. You'd be doing some like contest for some writing thing. And oh my, with music in the background changing too. That just sounds insane.
Yeah. Well, when things get transposed to a live performance, you can change it up all kinds of ways.
Yeah.
It's part of what I like about going to live shows. Shit gets wild. Aaron, thanks again for your super chat. Tier as well. We read those. Melissa, thanks for the super. I'm sorry I missed it. Said was telling Amanda, saw you live in Vegas. We'll look in NYC soon. Amanda's an amazing vocalist. Made us all cry with her voice. Here, Melissa. I would really, I don't know if we're gonna be able to swing it, but man, I'd love to make it up to New York for the show.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Be fun. That would be fun. I think it's later June. So I don't think it's at risk of getting in the way of our Keys trip in July. But it's more just like because it is in close enough proximity that if I want to bring Katie, it might be a time off from work concern.
I'm going to say the thing everybody says, it's a business expense, blog it. It's all good. Just it's business expense.
Well, yeah, no. And I say that all the time. I'm like, well, we can legitimately, like my part of it is a business expense. Like if I'm going to go anyway, I have to fly, which costs money. I have to stay in a hotel, which costs money. And the ticket to the event costs money. And I have to eat. So my portion of it, because we'd make a video about that. my portion of it is legitimately a business expense. So, yeah, I've got some ideas. It just comes down to time off, really, more than anything else, and how much it would impact our streaming schedule and all that kind of stuff. So, Daykoth, thank you for the super chat that said Realm Reborn goes from shonen anime to George R.R. Martin novel real fast. Yeah. I mean, not real fast. I'd say steadily.
You could see it coming. Yeah. Because
well, I would say it goes to a George R.R. Martin novel suddenly, because it's just like quest, normal quest, mic drop.
Well, and that was so that was post Fish Wizard, which for me it was that moment where like Thancred and Yagiri do like 2 flips, and you're like, well, wait a minute, did you guys just flip in pretty good graphics? That was cool. What just happened?
Huh, things are escalating.
Is something going to be happening? And then, like, it's a real short fight scene. Merle Webb shoots a guy, and you're like, oh, okay, there it goes. And, like, that is the first big, like, extended fight scene where you're just like, I need to keep playing this. More stuff like this is going to happen.
Yeah. Yes, 100%. Yeah. Leonis and Amy McWilliams, thank you both for gifting 5 memberships each during this. It's very kind of you. Thank you. And then Fresno... Super wanted to say hi to Amanda and said, any tips for making good glams in 14? Sorry we missed this.
Is there a legend? I've seen, looking through old clips, I've seen a dress, and as well as, of course, the apparent bucket of costumes available for live guests. So
watch, if you haven't seen Ben Starr's appearance on her stream, man, it is...
I did, and
amazing.
I've never been so delighted to click through something to see what it was like and just be completely confused. Because you don't realize when you're clicking through it, it's like 4 hours long, and you're like, wait a minute. They completely changed. And then you click forward and you go, wait a minute. Was this all the same day? What's going on here? Like, it's not just silly hats. These are full-blown outfits.
Yeah, it's wild. A little wild. And then Suna, thanks to Super. Hey, Garrett, maybe make a note to ask about cocktail questions that by an offhand chance you might interview Soken. I'm going to ask anyone from CBU3 now about cocktails. I mean, it makes sense to me because the
housing items they put in game?
No, well, yes, but my understanding, there was a massive, this is a little, I'm going to talk generally without knowing the exact citations about cocktail history, but wonderful book that Kristen gifted us for Christmas, Imbibe, gets into it a little bit. There was a massive loss of cocktail knowledge in the United States during Prohibition. And there's also considered, like the 80s is kind of considered like the death of cocktail culture in the United States. Cocktails were shit. They were made horribly with bad ingredients for dumb reasons like we want this to be bright pink instead of actually taste good. That was the 80s. And in the, like, I think the 2010s, I think it started in the late, like, aughts, there started to be resurgence of crafting cocktails well again. And a lot of it was coming over from Japanese cocktail culture because they never lost it. And there's a massive culture of like high-end crafting cocktails in Japan. There's a lot of bars that you go into with a single bartender, and you're going to wait a while for your drink, but it is going to be crafted impeccably. And that's where my understanding is that's where a lot of the craft cocktail movement that was, maybe you could say it's a fad, but it's still going today, that started to happen in the aughts. It started to come back from that. And then now it's been backfilled historical like documents and notes and old books have been unearthed, but a lot of modern day US cocktail culture is actually derived from Japanese cocktail culture. That's why we have things like the Uri glass. If you've ever seen a martini or an old fashioned stirred in a mixing glass, that's a Uri glass, and that's I mean, Uri is a Japanese word. That's where the mixing glass came from for the making of cocktails. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me a ton to hear. There's some fantastic YouTube channels about Japanese cocktail making. They're also shot very well, and everyone dresses so nice. And it's a couple of them are shot in actual Tokyo cocktail bars, and it's just like, oh, this is a vibe. it calms me. I love it. I'll just put them on every once in a while because a lot of them are silent and it's just cocktail making ASMR and it's wonderful. Just the smooth sound of perfect ice being stirred in a glass mixing glass.
And respecting the amount of work it made to take that perfect ice.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, when I was learning how to mix in a mixing glass and I realized you're not supposed to agitate the ice, you're supposed to move all of the ice as one unit around. It should be if you're making it with good ice, you will barely hear anything. It's rad. It is such an experience, man. I'm such a dork about it. So, yeah. So, anywho, I'm a big nerd about cocktails. Rudolph, thanks for the super right now. So, my boys, I started playing 2 months ago because of you, and seeing you finish the story was so heartwarming. Happy for you and your channel. Thanks, Rudolph.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It feels good to see these kind of messages. You absorb a fair amount of doomsaying for your channel when you reach the end of Endwalker. There was a bit of a drop off on the Patreon today. It's the first of the month, but there's usually a drop off.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's, I'd say it's like a tiny bit more than I'm used to seeing. But honestly, today it seems like it's more, Talk Shop appears to be more payment method issues and banks marking it as fraud, which has always been an issue with Patreon. But today there were a few more. This payment info is no longer good than usual. There were more of those today than usual. The cancellations today, I would say, was on par with any other month.
Yeah, no, it's been incredible. It's been really cool receiving so many kind just messages and things we didn't have to say. That's been the coolest part is like when we made our thank you video at the end of the big stream, it was very much like, thank you for watching. And it was everyone else saying back, can't wait for the next thing. Because we didn't want
I went back and rewatched that part of the VOD to make sure I didn't miss anything and check because I wanted to see how it was received. And it was very, very kind. Yeah. Thank you so much. And to those of you, I was just talking, don't worry. I appreciate it if you are checking your Patreon pledge. I think it was roughly 30 people today. That was either your payment info's out of date or your bank's marking it as fraud. And the only way I know it's that is because those are the only two reasons where Patreon won't give me a notification that says so-and-so canceled. Because it will tell me if someone left of their own volition, which is good to know. I'm really glad that Patreon shows us that. But yeah, I'm not super worried. Like the turnout for our streams are great and the support for those types of streams are good and it's sustainable.
Hell yeah.
And so that's kind of when we let fear enter our mind about what happened after Endwalker, that's what we were looking at. We're like, okay, well, what is the non-MSQ stuff doing? And it's doing so much better than we ever could have hoped.
And things like this we got to do today. Awesome.
Oh yeah, by the way, now we can I mean Amanda we can't talk to about Endwalker stuff, but we can talk to all our guests about Endwalker now. And so we're gonna
there was definitely like I had my little video in the corner. I was like, oh right, I can't really do much with this today.
yeah 100%. And everyone in chat saying there's still so much MSQ to do. I'm completely with you. But
what did you see the we can't do 90 roulette? They lock us out, Garrett.
I did see that. Yes, I did see that.
Yeah,
we gotta keep going. We
gotta do all the patches before I can have 90 roulette.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling good about it. You're not gonna get everybody, and I don't expect all of our streams to have the views of the Endwalker finale. That would be bonkers to assume that's just no. That's fine. That's fine. But like I said, like our Tuesday streams rocking, extreme streams rocking, our podcast streams rocking. Like that's the stuff. That's the sustainable. That's when you're doing this as a job. That's what you got to look at, and we're doing great. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for telling your friends. And I'm really excited about stuff like this. And the conversation we had with Jesse on Friday, we literally wouldn't be able to make that content if we hadn't completed Endwalker. So I'm really excited about what this unlocks in terms of the type of content that we get to make.
Hell yeah.
So I'm super stoked about it. So to the diehards, I mean, if you're here, you're a diehard. If you're still watching right now, show's over. Amanda's gone. You're the diehards. Thanks for being with us. Like, thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for being here. We really do.
Do I click this button? Thank you.
Wildly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, look at that.
Look at that.
Look at you. Thank you so
look at
much. Thank you to our recent patrons. And we'll see you tomorrow for the Super Forum.